What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And this one wants to talk about what's going on with Tesla stock, what's going on with SPY, and then talk about how the government shutdown could end up affecting them if it ends up happening. So I want to make a video about the government shutdown, what's going on with it, and what does this mean for the US stock market. But before I break anything down about all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just say a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. So anyways, let's talk about how the market is looking. As you know, Tesla has this head and shoulders like pattern as we approach their deliveries. Now, when it comes to this formation, we're likely not going to see the big reaction until we see deliveries. And I want to just make a very quick correction about that. In my video from yesterday, I mentioned that it could be on Sunday when it comes out or Monday. It's actually most likely going to be on Monday, according to reports. Monday, October 2nd, in the daytime, we should be seeing the numbers coming out, and they're going to be very telling for Tesla and where this thing ends up going in terms of its share price. Now, the record we saw was 466,000. If they break the record again, that could be very bullish for them. But Wall Street is expecting them to give us something around 462,000. So we will see if they end up missing or not. That's going to be very telling for the future. So we're just going to be waiting and seeing how this ends up looming. Now, I don't want to focus as much on deliveries or anything like that, since I talked already, a lot about that yesterday. I want to focus more on the government shutdown because this is the next big thing that's making headlines. So, why do these shutdowns happen? Under the Anti-Deficiency Act, right? This was passed initially in 1884 and amended in 1950. Federal agencies can't spend or obligate any money without appropriation from Congress. When they fail to enact the 12 annual appropriation bills, the agencies must cease all non-essential functions until Congress ends up acting. That's known as a government shutdown. There are also some acts that could be passed, but maybe some of them could be passed, but not all of them. That would be known as a partial government shutdown. So we're basically getting very close to one possibly happening. And it has a lot to do with what's happening with Congress right now, all the, dysfunctions and all the, cantankerous disagreements that are just continuing to make up Congress. Now, these shutdowns could be used as political mechanisms to, be used against, certain individuals, certain parties or whatever. And it really is just very messy politics. I don't really want to talk too much about the details right now. Just know this. According to Goldman Sachs chief economist, there's about a 90% chance it's going to happen. They're saying it's extremely likely because we're so close to the deadline and not much progress has been made. There's so much work that has to be done. Now, this could be an intentional move by a certain party, by certain individuals, because they want to cause whatever is necessary for their political agendas. That is the uncomfortable truth about this situation. That is politics, unfortunately. But at the same time, you have to remember that there's going to be a big trade-off from a decision like that. It's going to affect lots of Americans, and it's going to cause them to possibly change their views on someone or have completely different ideas. I mean, it's going to be pretty wild. But right now, when you look at like all these headlines and whatever, it's just pretty crazy. Okay, one headline is going to blame one party, another headline blames the other. It's just complete madness. I don't really want to go down the political route when talking about this in full details. I just want to talk about this from a very unbiased perspective. So the chances of avoiding a shutdown in the next 3 days are not looking good, according to Goldman Sachs economists. They're saying that a shutdown this year has looked likely for several months, and now we think that the odds have risen to 90%. This is what the chief economist of Goldman Sachs has said from the global research, the head of global research. That is very important. Now, this is the most likely possibility. It's going to happen on October 1st, which is going to be on Monday. That is going to be I think not Monday. I think it's Sunday. So that's when we're going to find out. If that's the case, that could be very bearish for the markets. And just to double check, that's going to be, once again, yes, on Sunday. So Sunday, October 1st is when it could end up starting. That is going to be very important. Now, right here, the news is saying that on Tuesday evening, the Senate ended up passing what is likely a last chance deal to avert a closure. It's a 79-page bill that would keep the government open until November 17th. It is designed to allow for more times for negotiations and etc., but so that Congress can basically pass whatever they need to pass before the end of the year. So there's a chance that there could be a last-minute deal past September 30th. There's a possibility, but according to the reports, from what I'm seeing, now I can't promise this is 100% accurate, but there's a high probability it is, that little progress has been made and there's little time left. So it seems that there's a possibility that we might see a shutdown very, very soon. Now, if this does end up getting resolved, this could go on for quite a while or not, and this may it may continue as time progresses. We know what happens with politicians, how polarized they are, how polarized they tend to be for their own benefits to some extent. So playing the blame game could work to their benefits, and they may be trying to use this to their advantage. At the same time, there are other factors. There could be like a very I could give them like the benefit of the doubt to some extent, say that they're just having a hard time negotiating. That's another factor, but the bottom line is this is just like a really, really serious situation. Now, there's news coming out that a government shutdown is set to disrupt the military and VA services. That is going to be very negative, and this will have a very big effect on the market nonetheless. So, when it comes to Tesla and the stock market, I just want to mention that whatever happens, happens, and it's going to have a big effect on the share price nonetheless. So, this would be bearish for the markets, in my opinion. Now, if it's announced on Sunday, that could have a very negative effect on Tesla. Let's just say there's a scenario where Tesla ends up doing well in deliveries. They come very close to their record. For example, they somewhat beat delivery expectations. It could be forming like a right shoulder and come back up to this like 260 level to fill this gap, then reject and start selling off. If we get a government shutdown, the market starts selling off. We could see something like this where Tesla gets dragged down thanks to SPY and etc. It could still come down to fill this gap, and the head and shoulders could still play out, even if there is some kind of like small bounce. This is just one hypothetical situation. Another one would be we don't get much of a bounce. We just start selling off immediately. And we just see Tesla just tank from here because of the head and shoulders. That's another possibility. Okay. What else is a little bit concerning though is like I was talking about yesterday. There's this connection between SPY and Tesla, the QQQ and Tesla, and all these different stocks out there. When we look at this data, you will see that they tend to move very similarly. If you want to look at like the QQQ and Tesla, QQQ and SPY, QQQ and other tickers out there. Same thing with SPY and Tesla. They move very similarly. So, what if, and we're going to go back down the Elliott wave route, you will see that we have this bearish looking structure developing. We have a wave one, a wave two, a clear wave three. Either wave three is done and we're about to see like, we just saw wave four and we're about to see the final wave five after the shutdown. That's one possibility. Or it could be that we're still in wave three and, wave four is going to be a much smaller bounce and there's going to be an even more significant sell-off coming to the markets. For example, something like this. I don't truly know which one exactly it's going to be, but what I can tell you is that from an Elliott wave perspective, there's more downside likely coming nonetheless. And what could trigger this could be the government shutdown, right? That could be a very, very big market shaking event leading to some very bearish outcomes. That's a real possibility. That's a real risk. So everyone needs to be prepared for that just in case. So if that happened, hypothetically, let's just say there is a government shutdown, SPY is going to sell off most likely. And we could see an even more aggressive sell-off. It really depends on different factors. I'd be watching that 418 to 420 support if that fails us. I mean, we could be falling to start filling these gaps in the low 400s. That's a real possibility for SPY. If this scenario plays out with a looming government shutdown that happens earlier than expected, that can have a very negative effect on Tesla, SPY, QQQ, NVIDIA. The list goes on. If it happens, if all these politicians get in the way and they just argue it out, and all this chaos happens, and a lot of hardships happen to more Americans because of the effects that this is going to have on their lives, this could also play out on Tesla, possible head and shoulders. It could even sink Tesla down to fill this gap towards this 215 area. That's my honest assessment. It's a possibility. Can I promise it? I'm not promising anything. It depends on these different factors. But it's a real possibility, and I think everyone needs to be prepared for this nonetheless. The government shutdown can have a bigger effect on Tesla than its deliveries, because deliveries could just be a short-term reaction, whereas the shutdown could last many, many days, many weeks even. So I want everyone to just be prepared for this. Let's see if the headlines start talking about an actual shutdown. Let's see if anything is resolved anytime sooner, and we will see what happens for the next couple of trading days, the next few weeks. If there's a shutdown, this could also work against many politicians. I mean, for their re-election campaigns and etc. So we'll see. I mean, there are different ways you could view this. The best thing to do is just be patient and wait and see how it goes. But just know from a technical standpoint, The odds do favor downside on SPY and Tesla and these other tickers. All right. So we'll wait and see what happens. If it's truly true that there's a 90% chance of the shutdown happening, that is very concerning. It's going to affect everyday Americans, and that is not okay in my eyes. All right. I want every American to flourish. I want people to do well. Every American that's a good person, at least, that is hardworking, or at least a contributing member to society. I want the best for almost everyone out there. Most Americans have amazing intentions. They're amazing people, and I don't really want to see anyone suffer. So this is horrible. Hopefully, our Congress, our government gets through this. Hopefully, they improve the situation, and hopefully, this shutdown does not happen. Because the odds do favor it will happen, and if that's the case, then it is what it is. So we'll be patient. We'll see what happens, and I just want the best for everyone. So I hope everyone stays strong. If this affects you, please, please, please never give up. Do your best to keep your heads up and remain optimistic at all times, because I know how hard things could get. All right? Have a great weekend. Enjoy what's left to offer. Enjoy some football tomorrow, especially. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. Thank you, and peace out.